All right, we're back. You're listening to Softcore Detachment, the podcast where soft hearts grow sharp boundaries and healing gets gloriously unhinged. I'm your host, Catalina, recovering perfectionist, certified chaos gremlin, and Softcore CEO of Emotional Detachment. With me, thank goodness, is Joni, producer, partner in crime, defender of boundaries, and professional glow-up baddie.
I'm her. She's me. Hi,
And
guys.
she's rocking the merch. I see that little raccoon sweater over there.
I love this. It's so cozy. It's like one of those kind of like bigger, fluffy. It's not stiff. I love this. It's like my sweatshirt.
That's perfect because it was like 39 degrees this morning when we woke up, even though it is currently 75 degrees outside.
I know. And I have an autoimmune condition. And so when it's cold, I like hurt.
You are cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. I can't imagine. Like, you live in multiple layers and on a heating pad.
I know.
Yeah.
But this is like my sweatshirt. It's like every time I have to keep washing it over and over because I keep wearing it. I'm like, is it clean? Yes.
Yes. Back on, especially straight out of the dryer. Hey, let's get messy.
Let's do it.
Love it. All right. I love this episode. This is incredibly important. We are going to talk about how to argue like an adult. Yeah, because yelling, ghosting, and the silent treatment, that's over. That's gone. That is so 2020.
But I'm not going to lie. I have been known to not argue like an adult.
Yeah, you pull out some of those childish tactics.
I mean, yes, you back me into a corner, the pit will bite.
You're not a little baby dashing. You got a pit bull in you.
I'll lockjaw big.
All right, I like it. The reality is, it's not like this is something that they teach in school. You know what I mean? You don't learn how to fight like a grown-up, and so I can't blame you there. It's hard to disagree without wanting to detonate the entire room, completely validate yourself over other people's right to be a part of this relationship and to have valid boundaries and a valid point in their arguments. So we're going to talk about it today. How do we argue like an adult? How do you protect your boundaries, communicate your needs, and still leave space for somebody else's humanity and their right to have a point in this conversation? We don't want name calling. We don't emotional hangovers. We just want progress. Sound good?
You know what? I've had to chat GPT my way through an argument before. I'm not going to lie. And it was very beneficial.
It's incredibly beneficial.
Yeah.
I wish you were a little less of a yes man and call you out on your own BS as well. But it's like, no, Queen, you're totally right here. He's an a-hole. And it's like, oh, okay, but.
Yeah, it did say Queen. It did say that.
Love that for us. So the reality is many of us grew up with a modeling in our homes of, avoidance or aggression, usually avoidance. Like, a lot of parents don't fight in front of their kids, or if they do, it's like really over the top. It's either one or the other. It's rare to have parents model healthy arguments, right? They either want to keep that private, keep that away from your kids, or it's way crazy, scary, over the top aggressive.
Yeah, my parents never argued, ever. I never seen them fight, not one time. And they were married over 25 years. However, they had a very distant relationship. And I never realized that until I was an adult.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I think mine is probably similar. I've never seen my parents, as a child, I never saw my parents argue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really, really great point. It makes it one way or the other for kids. They're either wired for that kind of fight or flight sort of scenario in their homes where there's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of arguing, violence even, or there's avoidance. We don't argue. We just, sit with our hurts. We just take things that we shouldn't be taken and don't stand up for ourselves in scenarios where you should clearly stand up and establish a boundary and not allow certain things to be happening. So there's rarely that middle ground.
Yeah, what I want to know though is like if you have I guess if you're in a tumultuous situation with somebody, have you ever felt it or known somebody where they already go in guns a-blazing regardless because it's such always like a I guess prefabbed situation where it's always tumultuous, so it doesn't matter even if it's just you didn't take the trash out, it's always bad.
Yeah. Oh, that's so rough. Because, like you said, that's not a big deal. It's like the trash wasn't taken out. It's going to be okay,
Mhm.
you know? But it's like when they make everything a fight or
Mhm.
everything 0 to 60, it's impossible to regulate your nervous system through that.
Yeah, yeah, and then you
Yeah.
get, like, you're so on edge all the time, your nervous system can never relax, and when the person's like, "Oh, I need to talk to you," you are automatically in defensive mode, you come into it defensive, or you're just totally sketched out right before the conversation, and it really can mess with somebody's nervous system.
Big time. And then that translates to everybody else in your life as well. If you've ever been in a relationship like that, or your parents were like that, and then even a normal person in your life, somebody that you haven't had that kind of a back and forth with says, "Hey, we need to talk." Immediately you're taken back to that place. You are triggered right back there. The cortisol dumps into your body. And then let's say then, they're like, "How about, we have a chat tomorrow morning before the gym?" And you're like, "No, we need to do this right now. Don't leave me in that place for the next 18 hours."
Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm like that even if they don't say we need to talk. I'm like, "Oh, this person hasn't texted me back, they must be pissed at me, they must be," and then I'll fret and stress and I'll try to, like, check in, like, "Hey, maybe you didn't get my text." I just have this I'm just a highly sensitive person, so conflict and argument, it really, really I take it really bad.
I understand. Yeah. And it's interesting because, again, it might be nothing. It could just be, "Hey, we need to reschedule this," or, "Something happened yesterday and I just want to go over it again and make sure we're all on the same page and we're okay." It could be no conflict at all. But I
Mhm.
think we're so good in our brains at making the worst case scenario be the reality when that's
Mhm.
just not true.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. So I just like I guess what I'm trying to focus on and learn, I hope other people are too, is like when you know that things could be an argument or when you're coming back into a situation after an argument, ways to prepare.
Great call. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go through this. So, you know that there are only certain aspects of this that you can control, and most of that is you. Right? You can't
Mhm.
control the other person, you can't control what was said or what's going to happen, but you can control yourself. So we're going to practice some of those things that we've been talking about in the podcast, hopefully that we work on in therapy. So for example, regulating yourself first, your own reactivity. If that person especially is somebody in your life that likes to get a rise out of you, or that it's not going to help the situation if you get jacked up, if you come at
Mhm.
this from that same sort of level of engagement, then just
Yeah.
regulate yourself. Go through some deep breathing. I like to go through the what ifs, not to an obsessive level, but here's what was said, here's what we're coming in with. Let's go through the what ifs. Just do a little bit of prep work. Pause, breathe, clarify the goal. What are you coming in to achieve?
Mhm.
Do I want to be right and correct, or do I just need to be understood in this situation? And then, as you know, we've talked about this before. For me, timing is really important. I'm not engaging in any arguments before bedtime. Period. I don't care who it's with. If it's with my son about his grades, family members over text about the holidays, or anything like that, or my spouse or friends, it's just not happening. If we need to have a heated discussion or an intense discussion, it needs to wait until tomorrow.
You know what? I've crossed somebody's boundary on that before and never really realized it was that big of a deal for somebody.
Mm.
And I was habitual at like nighttime saying, we need to talk about this. And it would
Ooh,
always turn into not the thing we needed to talk about, but the fact of why do you always got to do this at night? And I was like, who cares? I would be like, who cares? It needs to be
oh,
talked about. It needs to be talked about. It's important. It's important. And the
yeah,
person would continually say, I'm not doing this at 8:30 at night. I'm trying to go to bed. And I'd be like,
right.
you can sleep after this. And then they were foreseeing that it was heavy topics, something that could be turned into something, that would take a long time or not be resolved at all. And I wasn't seeing it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were regulating themselves for the afterwards, right? Because you
Yeah.
almost have to come down from something like that. You had stress hormones, your mind gets spun up, and then it takes time for me to come down from that. And if we're doing that up until 9 or 10 o'clock, I don't sleep well afterwards. That's going to affect my entire evening. So yeah, they recognize that. And good for you for looking back on that now and seeing, whoops, I kind of messed that one up, taking responsibility for it.
Oh, yeah, I did. I would and the pathetic thing is, I wanna repeat this because it's important. It was then more about why you don't wanna go through this rather than what the topic initially was going to be to begin with.
Interesting. It
Mhm.
became about the fight itself as opposed
Yeah,
to, like, why we're actually having this discussion.
sure.
Fascinating.
Mhm.
Interesting. One of the other things that, I've worked through with my therapist as well is using "I feel" statements.
Mhm.
And I think that plays a big role when you're discussing something highly emotional with somebody and things that you are, discussing things that they have done, as opposed to making it accusatory. When you do this, I feel like this,
Mhm.
right? As opposed to you do this to me. Um, a lot of times people may not have the intent that you think that they have.
Mhm.
Most people who care about you don't intend, they don't start out their day, trying to hurt you. And if they do, you might want to rethink that relationship, right?
Yeah, I mean, but then you have someone like me, I'm just sensitive, so it somebody could say something to me with the best of intentions, and I'm still going to take it so personal and so just to heart, and I sometimes you argue or have situations with a highly sensitive person like me, and a whole 'nother can of worms that it can be brought into conflict.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So have you found a balance with understanding that, most people don't come at you with the intent to hurt you, but you have an extra tender, wide open heart that makes it difficult for people understand where you're coming from?
No. I have found I am highly sensitive and I realize that, but it doesn't make what people do or say any less of an effect on me or have any less of an effect on me.
I
I'm
see.
sensitive and that's not changing. Like I haven't found an armor. I haven't found a way to harden that up a little bit. Yet I don't know if that's something that I will work on and eventually get there, but I know I'm sensitive. I have no problem admitting or even reading the book The Highly Sensitive Person, but it's not fixing internally what makes me so sensitive and the fact that I just want to throw something out there for an example. Um I want to be really careful how I put this. Eh, We'll go back to this. Never mind. I
Ooh,
I don't want
okay.
to get ahead of myself, but let's just say I always even think of the worst case scenario when there's nothing even going on. Like I'll
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, maybe I'm just going to make this one up for now. Maybe I'm not doing too good at my job, right? At work." And then I'll ask my boss, "Hey, like am I not doing that good?" And she's like, "Oh, you're doing great. Why? What's going on?" But like for days I'm thinking I'm like just such a terrible employee or stuff like that, and it really gets in my mind, and I start going, and I've just gone down a rabbit hole when nothing
Interesting.
has
There was
happened to
yeah.
even set that off.
And even if there was the tiniest little thing that really didn't mean anything, your brain took it, ran with it, and created something much bigger.
Big time.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other little factor here that I want to add in this before the argument planning period is whether or not to do this over text versus in person. And there are two kind of two ways to look at this. Some people translate much better over person than over text. With text, you lose a lot in translation, right? You can't hear the influx of voice. You can't hear the meaning behind words, whether or not you were being, sarcastic or true depth of emotion or different things like that. And so, for that reason, a lot of time these heavy conversations should happen in person. However, with high conflict people, or if you're having, you know, continual discussions with somebody where there has been a lot of conflict and oftentimes words or conversations are often misconstrued or used back against you later or different things like that, it may be best to have a record of this conversation. And so having text or taking an audio recording or a video recording may be a good idea so that you
That
can
sounds like 50 Cent receipts. Did you watch that documentary?
That man kept receipts and he
For
came
like
back
30 years?
strong. Yeah, man. bless that man.
You
I'm only
know?
on episode 3 right now, and I'm disgusted. Like, I
Well,
cannot
we aren't
even.
living up to our level of pettiness. It could be better.
He set the bar for a whole new level of petty. I thought he hated Ja Rule, but no, he came at it with. I apologize, the dogs are going at it. He came at it with a whole new level of petty.
That's right. I don't even
Yeah,
think it's petty, it's real. It's like, wow,
that's
he's
hate. Yeah, absolutely.
no,
And
that's
I'm not
crazy.
mad about it because this stuff
No.
needed to be brought to the light.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so yeah, receipts might be important in some of these situations. So decide that for yourself and based on previous discussions or arguments or conversations that you've had with their person about whether or not this is best done in person versus having a recording versus having receipts.
Mhm.
So that's something to think about as well. Okay. The other thing to move this forward, let's get into the argument itself. Let's say you're deep into this conversation and you're having the back and forth. Um, it helps to stay on track, stay on the issue. A lot of times it's tempting to go back and say, well, 6 months ago when you did this, why was that okay? But now this isn't okay. Or, when this happened last time, we did this and this happened and that happened. That may not be helpful. Try to stay on topic, stay on track for what's happening right now in front of you. Have you had that kind of
Mhm.
experience before?
Oh gosh, yeah. And I'll say, "Oh, well 16 years ago on this date at this time, you said."
You come with the receipts. I see what's going on. You're like, hold the phone. I have this. I have this in my notes app.
I think I might have audio recorded you. No, yes, of course. I think everybody has because I think what's happened is that old stuff is unresolved. And so it's so easy for it to
Ooh,
come right back into play because really what this issue is actually a manifestation of just this issue plus others. You know what I'm saying?
so well said. If it was unresolved or unforgiven or that hurt and that trauma is still raw,
Hmm.
it's easy to bring that stuff up and try and use it against it in the current argument.
Yeah, or if it's triggering because of traumas unrelated that are, unrelated to this person or this moment, but it's a triggering type of topic or subject or whatever, it's not hard to what is that called? Like expand it
Or
what
project it is
project yeah.
projected onto that person.
Yeah,
Very well said,
absolutely.
Joni. Great point. A lot of that has to do with just being unhealed
Yeah.
and bringing that into the current situation. Very well said. One of the other techniques that's wonderful to use in the middle of a high emotion and high intensity situation like this is called mirroring back. So that shows the person that you're in the conversation, you're hearing what they say, and you're internalizing it as well. So I hear you say this, and it makes you feel like this.
Mhm.
Right? I hear you say, when I did this to you, it made you feel like that. And that shows the person again that you're in this with them, you're trying to empathize and understand where they're coming from. Instead of just getting defensive and denying that you did this. Well, I didn't do that on purpose. I didn't want to do that. It wasn't my intent. And again, one of the things that we've talked about is intent versus impact. And I
Mhm.
think that's super important because even if you didn't intend to hurt somebody, you can't control how it lands. And as you said, being a highly sensitive person, it feels easy to get hurt often. And so intent versus impact is super important.
Mhm. Oh yeah. I feel like it's a bit of active listening that's required. And
Yes,
that's a learned art. That's not easy to do
very true.
when you stand
Yeah,
on business. That's just not easy to do.
very well said. And
Yeah.
I like that. I like how you said stand on business because the true purpose of any of these arguments and any of these discussions should be compromise, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be solution focused. But what happens is we
Yeah.
get so caught up in problem focusing that we forget that we're really just trying to get to a solution.
Right, right. I think it's so easy to feel defensive and to defend your boundary and defend your feelings. And you did this, and I felt like this, and why aren't you more sorry? And I want to be right. When
You're
the true
looking for
purpose,
validation.
absolutely. And I think that you can validate each other while still holding your boundaries and still have that purpose of trying to come to that center of the table, sit back down again, comfort each other, apologize sincerely, and then move forward and not let that kind of shit happen again.
Yeah.
That's the key, too.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just in relationships like romantic relationships. You're talking friendships that have falling outs or
Yep.
bumps in the road or whatever. Relationships with your parents, siblings,
Yeah.
family members, friends, whatever.
with your kids too. I find that as my kids are getting older, it's so important to acknowledge when you screw up and when you have
Mhm.
to say, "I'm sorry, I did not handle this well. I need to do better."
Mhm.
It's incredibly important to show that you're not perfect and you're doing the best you can, but you're going to make mistakes, and you need to come at this and show them that you can take responsibility for your mistakes as well.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad that you brought that up when you said "I'll do better." I saw something. I don't know if you've ever watched The Golden Bachelor.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, this last season, there was this, lady on there, I don't know, some lady in her, like, 60s or whatever, and apparently she was bringing it acting like the opportunity she was given, she was just gonna exploit it and use it to gain, like, social media followers and stuff, and when people brought it to her attention and they were getting nasty with her, she said, "You know what? I didn't realize I did that. I will do better." And
Hmm.
it immediately diffused the situation, and people are like, "I can respect that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. It's so true because we see so many influencers and movie stars and musicians get called out on their BS and
Mhm.
then have to do an apology video. And you can see right through the disingenuine ones where they're
Mhm.
like, "I'm sorry that you're mad at me, but I'm not really sorry for what I did. I'm sorry that I'm being canceled, but I don't think I did anything wrong to deserve this backlash. And I just want my fame and fortune and love back." Right?
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
the "I'm genuinely sorry if what I did hurt people and if this was misconstrued or if what I did hurt anybody, I'm sorry. That was never my intent. I'm going to do better. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I'm going to learn." There's
Mhm.
a big difference between those two things as opposed to "I'm sorry people are mad at me."
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
sorry, or are you sorry that people just are making a big deal about it?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And I think the same is true when you're having a discussion and an argument with a person that you care about. Are you sorry that that person is mad at you and that there's this kind of, trouble in paradise? Or are you genuinely sorry that something you did hurt them? And do you
Mhm.
not want to ever do that again?
Mhm. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
big
I've
difference
said
there.
that fake apology before. I used one of my own weaknesses, like, I know I'm sensitive, and I know it sucks to be sensitive, and how I used it against somebody else. I said, "Well, I'm sorry that you're sensitive." How rude.
Ooh. Yeah. Dang, girl. But again, way to be aware of it. You calling yourself out on it,
Yeah.
and it felt like crap, didn't it?
I feel terrible afterwards. I'm like, that was so rude of me." And it's because I used it as a hurtful technique because I know it would hurt me if it was done to me. So I weaponized that, and that's not cool.
Dang. That's great awareness. Yeah, looking back on some of the fights that I've had, I'm ashamed of some of those moments of mine. And I also have learned from them and know that I can do better and that those people in my life deserve better as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't stay in the loop, man. Grow, do better. And then you can fail more spectacularly next time. And that takes us to the apologies and the repair. Okay. After any kind of situation like this, whether it was a planned discussion or whether it just happened on the fly and you had that quick little moment and that back and forth, and now you have to come back together and repair it, a real apology has three parts: ownership, name what happened, give that empathy. I understand it hurt you, as opposed to "I'm sorry you felt that way." That's one of the
Mhm.
most BS apologies. I'm guilty of it. I've done that as well. But then I hate it when people say that to me because that completely takes their ownership out of it. Right.
Mhm.
And then the change. The actual, now you have to change your behavior. If you keep doing that same kind of thing over and over, that's not a true apology. That's just the definition of insanity. That's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, when you try to repair something with somebody and you have to either walk away because it got too heated or maybe some verbal aggression came out or something like that, and then you have that awkward energy, you want to be careful, I think, not to um stonewall or give a silent
Mm.
treatment versus just
Yes.
pausing and truly revisiting it, but also not sweeping it under the rug and acting like it never happened.
Oh, there's so many subtle nuances to what you just said. Yes, stonewalling and the silent treatment is weaponized. That hurts.
Yeah.
That's toxic as hell. And of
Mhm.
course, sweeping it under the rug doesn't solve anything. It's just going to, the same issues are going to keep coming up over and over again versus acknowledging, hey, we need to take a pause. This is no longer productive. I'm
Mhm.
saying hurtful things. You're saying hurtful things. We need to come back to this when we're both more rational and calm. And
Mhm.
it's so hard to do that in the moment. It sounds so easy right now, doesn't
I
it?
know.
In the light of day.
I know. I know. If somebody be like,
Yeah.
"Hold on, let me go listen to my softcore detachment video, and then we can talk
And then
about
we can come back.
this."
Let me plan this out a little bit better. But then you do, and you come back together and you need to have some sort of reconnection, whether it's through humor, whether it's through some kind of a gesture, an inside joke, touch, some kind of a piece over that I was right, you were wrong, or we came back together and now we truly understand where we were coming from. And now let's repair that situation and acknowledge it and move forward.
Mhm. Yeah. And sometimes that it's like you might just have to take time for yourself before that's even possible. Like I know, I'm learning to instead of continually pressuring somebody to continue on with the situation until it's resolved. So I'm going to have to step back and do my own self-soothing and journaling or breathing work or whatever.
That's so important, and that's hard. Like you said, a lot of times you just want the resolution now. Let's fix this now. Why won't you talk to me about it now? And
Hmm.
that's just not always possible. And you got to check yourself and know when to step away and know when genuinely to be done. Like this may never be resolved. It might be just time to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's that moment that you just said with yourself where you go, you've resolved this with this person or not, and you've walked away and you've moved on. And then you do need a big check-in with yourself. And you say, okay, so did I respect my own boundaries? Did I respect theirs? Did I get triggered into something that had nothing to do with me or this person and something that was, way outside of all this? Did I stay calm? Did I act like a complete asshole? Is there a chance of something like this, happening again? It's just good to check in with yourself after something like this and make sure do like a little self inventory.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. And I'm getting better at that, I will say.
Do you think journaling is helping?
Yes, but I need to get better at that. I think what's really helping is just doing something that allows me to disengage truly and refocus for a minute before I get stuck in that loop.
I see.
Whether that be take a bath or watch a really good show, something where my mind can completely shut off from it completely, and walk away from it, where my mind can actually shut down from it and not continue to spiral.
Just get out of that cycle
Yeah.
completely.
Mhm.
For sure. I like
Yeah.
that. Alrighty, guys. Well, arguing like an adult is not about being perfect. It's not about being right. It's about being present. It's about being a compromising partner in this moment. Remember what your goals are. What are you here to do? What's the point of this? Stay connected. Be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your person. And think about that self regulation type thing ahead of time. Because if you're coming in hot, the situation is not going to go the way that you would like it to.
Mhm.
Don't forget about your boundaries and respect their boundaries as well. What else would you like to add here, Joni?
I mean, that's really it, but I wouldn't be fighting with me if I were you. I would just be very careful.
She's scrappy.
I'm
Oh, but
no,
you're
I'm
like you're scrappy do.
sensitive. I am scrappy do. I'm sensitive and
Yeah,
I'm working on it. So no, I'm a hopeless loving person.
yeah, yeah. That little bleeding heart. Well, I can understand and I can empathize with that in a lot of ways. I feel like I lead with my emotions first versus rational thought. And I am doing a lot of work on that because a lot of the emotions that I lead with are actually anxiety driven. And
Ooh.
they're that whole idea that, one of the mantras that I have is your anxiety is lying to you. Because anxiety is rarely a rational line of thinking. And so if I counteract it with that rationale, your anxiety is lying to you, then I come at it with that less emotional and less, reactive way of thinking, it makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
And, getting your feelings hurt is not a bad thing, but then reacting back with that hurt may not be helpful in the situation.
Oh, yes. I agree with that.
All right, that's fair. Well, I like it. I think this is a good place to stop. I think that learning how to fight like an adult is a great skill to develop. It takes time, it takes learning, it takes being honest, and it takes some practice. Be true to yourself, be true to your boundaries, and have respect for you and the person that you are arguing with. And learn and grow as you go along. Of course, you can't avoid confrontation. It's a natural part of life and having relationships with human beings. But you can remember why you're fighting, what you're fighting for, and be as respectful as possible, both to yourself and to the person involved.
Yep, I agree.
Fabulous. All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and sign off here. Miss Joni, thank you for joining me. As always, I appreciate your perspective.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Wonderful. Well, we are still deep in the holiday season, and so it is a high conflict, high emotional time. Please keep on your self care practices. It makes a huge difference for mitigating any potential conflict. We know the holidays can be a joyous season, but also a pretty rough season as well. So hopefully that'll help mitigate any potential conflicts going on in your life. All right, folks, we're going to sign off there. Stay true to yourself. Please know that Joni and I love you and all your light and all your darkness and all of your conflict resolution. Bye.
Thought that I would be a bit at peace by now. Yeah, you're lying in the shadows of my room. Oh, always heard your voice, I forget the sound now. You're awfully quiet